Hello, this is Liberty Mark 222. I thought I'd make a few thoughts on what this interview that Greg Hunter had with Catherine Austin Fitts. And I thought it was a very significant interview, so I'm going to make some comments here. Just kind of recap what they were talking about. And the first thing Greg Hunter was asking is whether or not we were going to have a dollar collapse. And Catherine Austin Fitts was saying that we weren't going to really have a dollar collapse, but she was emphasizing this breakaway civilization, that there's kind of be a private people. She said that there's over $40 trillion that had been taken out of the system, and that these people that were forming this breakaway civilization had this money, in a sense, and that they're helping develop this drilling in the United States and North Dakota. That there's kind of a rebirth of agriculture in the United States, in the Midwest, I guess in the middle, like Iowa and whatnot, and they're developing this fabrication technology with robotics that is, she said, is going to be very dynamic. And but the old system was going to be saddled with all the liabilities, with the pensions, the Social Security, Medicaid, welfare, whatnot, like Detroit, where you used to have like, I think, 1.8 million people. Now it's down to about 700,000 people. So she was saying that the U.S. is going to remain a dominant power, that the G7 were pulling back on the BRIC nations. They were taking the money back, and they were going after the they call it the tax havens. That's what Cyprus is all about. And that instead of having a world war, there would be more like she would say that the dominant nations like China and Russia, and I suppose Brazil would, or India would just split up the world, and we wouldn't necessarily have like a war between the huge nations. She was saying how the healthcare system was a big loser, that we couldn't afford to pay all these promises that we'd made to the baby boomers, such as myself. That the local governments are gonna get squeezed. That she's saying the bond market was gonna diminish, and the equities were gonna increase to help fund all this new technology and whatnot in the United States. And she was saying that gold was not gonna necessarily collapse or go up, but she said it'd be used for a insurance policy, and that we should be prepared to be self-sufficient. And she said there's like a 70-75% chance that we'd have like a slow burn down in this United States here. So she acknowledged that there were GMOs in our food since 1995. She said that the life expectancy of men women had dropped 5 years, and men had dropped 3 years since 1990. She's saying how the government is spraying chemtrails. She's saying how our government is laundering money, drug money, that we have been stealing from our neighbors. Okay, so that's kind of a recap of what they were talking about. And so this is what I was kind of thinking. Okay, she's talking about this breakaway civilization. Now, she kind of had it as a positive, thinking it as a positive thing, but to me, I don't look at it as positive at all. I mean, you look at their fruits, you look at the type of things that are going on. You got the top 1% or 5%, they're ending up with all the money, they're ending up with all the assets, and everybody else is just slowly going downhill. Actually, not so slow. It's just everybody else you can't get jobs. you can't get increase in wages. Your benefits are getting stripped. Everybody's just getting squeezed like crazy. We're getting a police state. We have drones watching over us. We got the government saying that it's spying on us. That they repealed that propaganda thing after World War II. So the government is going to propagandize us. It seems like we're slowly getting killed. Our fertility rates dropping rapidly. The number of people getting married or having babies is just dropping rapidly. The civilization, the United States, is becoming very anti-Christian, very blasphemous against anything Christian. You hear people saying stuff on the internet, and I mean, it's just so shocking. I mean, when I was growing up, a Christian was considered an honorable person, somebody who's trustworthy and honest, and now everything, all the time you hear, oh well, Christians are just, money grubbing, just the most awful things in the world. And so this is coming from the elite, okay? This is what their mentality is. You have monopolies where private mom and pops can't get into business at all. You try and get into even a small restaurant or hardware store, selling carpet, anything. I mean, all the small businesses, you can't hardly get into it because of the corporations. They have monopolies, they have price advantages, labor advantages, everything. We have a prison system where we have 2.5 million people in prison, about 7 million people in that are on probation or parole. So we have 1.6 million people in the military. We got almost twice as many people in prison, or, so I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, wow, we're becoming more and more like 1984. We have the propaganda where the media is just turned into just a ward of the state. I mean, all the ABC, CBS, CNN, Fox, they're all they do is it's propaganda. You can't even get news in it hardly. I can't stand watching them hardly. We have where we're getting our pensions are taken away, our Social Security is slowly getting taken away, and then they're stirring up this race thing about blacks and whites, and I think to me it's just like the classic divide and conquer, and I just want to ask the question, what is race? Okay, is it do you determine race by somebody's language, by their skin color, by their culture, by their genetics, by where they're born, from their tribes, for a family? I mean, it's race is, it's so artificial. I was looking at some stuff on YouTube, and this expert, he was saying either we have one race, the human race, because all people can, I could marry somebody from South Africa, somebody black, and we would have children, if I was, any race in the world you could marry and have children. And that's not what they thought, 100 years ago. They thought, well, how could a European and a black, have children? Well, in the United States, we have so much mixture of black and white, whether or not people want to acknowledge it or not, from the time of Thomas Jefferson, okay? And so race is just it's like, it's totally an artificial thing, but it's used to divide us. So anyway, I don't look at this as necessarily a positive thing. I look at it as, and I think what she's saying is some important stuff. I really appreciate this, Catherine Austin Fitts. I really appreciate Greg Hunter also. So I think the way to fight against this is different. I think it's kind of like what Gandhi did, in a sense, is the threat to the New World Order, or these elite, is that there's just a tiny number of them, okay? And when everybody resists against them, they can't do anything against it. They can't fight against everybody. So if everybody just starts fighting against them in just a passive resistance, then they can't. The game's over, you know. And I think that's why they hate Christians so much, is because the church is a natural uniting force, and it's a natural force that has truth, like the Bible, and has a history of you know, our Constitution is only maybe almost 250 years old, right? Now the civilization and the basis of civilization has been around 10,000 years, okay? So the Constitution, in a sense, is a short period of time, but the basis for government, such as the Bible, and this is much longer. So I think that this strategy of uniting together and working and cooperating together is way more scary to the New World Order than somebody just laying up food for themselves in the basement. You know, when people start uniting and especially standing up for truth, like she said, everybody knows about this drug running. Everybody knows about at least in the government, but nobody's saying anything about it. When people start standing up for truth, like this Bradley Manning, okay, he stood up and he was willing to get convicted. This kind of person is what's really scary to the New World Order. So anyway, this is Liberty Mark 222. Thanks. Bye-bye.